Today we continue to
This
listen
meeting is being
Nīvaraṇā,
recorded.
mental hindrances. Yogis are practicing vipassana meditation. When you develop mindfulness in this retreat by observing any object manifested at the six sense doors, the first thing you would encounter is 5 hindrances, Nīvaraṇā. In the beginning, if you have not yet developed continuous mindfulness and strong concentration, then you cannot gain control over your mind, and it would wander as freely as always to every sense object it loves. Such an unruly mental states are of 5 kinds, known as 5 hindrances. They are so called because they block your concentration, they hinder the noble path to Nirvana. And Buddha mentions these 5 hindrances as 5 factors to abandon. In this way, Pinchinga Vipahino, having abandoned 5 factors. And then Buddha describes these 5 factors as follows: Katinja Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Pinchinga Vipahino Hoti. Buddha asks, how has a bhikkhu abandoned 5 factors? And then answer, Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhuno Kamichando Bhino Hoti. Pyabado Bhino Hoti, Tinamita Bhinan Hoti, Uticha Kokochan Bhina Hoti, Vichikecha Bhina Hoti. Here, a bhikkhu has abandoned Kamichanda, sensual desire, Pyabada, evil, Tinameda, sloth and torpor, Uticha Kukucha, restlessness and remorse, and Vichikecha, skeptic and doubt. It is in this way that a bhikkhu has abandoned 5 factors. Bhikkhus must have abandoned these 5 factors. And sensual desire is like a debt. If there arise sensual desire, take a prompt action to remove. Kama chanda, kama and chanda. Kama means desirable objects, and chanda means desire. So desire for desirable objects is the literal meaning of kama chanda. So kama or kama guna is an object that everybody desire to enjoy. Suppose, for example, you have prepared delicious food that you desire to eat with your families. Thereupon flies appear and hover over it because they love to eat this food too. And then ants sneak in with purpose to enjoy this food. So you need to cover it properly to keep it away from them. Otherwise, you have to share your food with them. So an object that everybody wants to enjoy is called karma, desirable. In the ultimate sense, such desirable objects are classified into 5 kinds: rupa yadanam, visible objects pleasant to see; saddha yadanam, audible objects nice to hear; gandha yadanam, odorous objects fragrant to smell; rasa yadanam, edible objects delicious to eat; potappa yadanam, tangible objects pleasant to touch. So 5 kinds of kama guna. So in the sutta, Buddha compares sense objects to a piece of meat, mansapi supama, kama. The piece of meat carried off by a kite that becomes a target of fierce attack by other birds. Finally, the birds can no longer withstand the attack and has to drop the meat down. So he is free from other attacks. Then another kite takes the meat away. Of course, the second kite is also attacked by other birds in the same way as the first one. It also has to drop the meat in the end because of too much attack. In this way, kites attack any birds that possess the meat. A bird can escape the fierce attack only when it lets go of the meat. In the same way, essential objects allures all living beings, and so its owner is the target of attack. So if he have one kamaguna, other people may make attempts to rob him of it. And also Buddha compares sensual pleasures to dreams. Sensual pleasures are like dreams. Supinakupama kama. You may have dreams. While having a good dreams, you think it is real in the dream and happily enjoy it in the dream. However, when you wake up, there's nothing real about you have experienced a while ago. After all, it is only a dream. In the same way, why you are enjoying the sensual pleasures, things and objects appear to be real, but later nothing exists. In fact, it is obvious that most suffering experienced in the search for these pleasurable objects than the actual enjoyment of them. You have to work hard for delicious food while eating. The delicious taste on the tongue lasts for a short moment, and as soon as you swallow it, it exists no more. In the same way, sensual pleasures of sight, sound, odors, touch are enjoyable at the moment of seeing, hearing, smelling, and touching. Afterwards, there is nothing left of them. For this reason, it is advisable not to attach to these sensual pleasures. By reflecting, there is more suffering than the momentary enjoyment of these sensual pleasures, likened to a dream. Sensual pleasures are like dreams. Life is like a dream, just momentary appearance. So the desirable objects are the root cause of all the attacks between individuals, between groups, between political parties, and between countries. Individuals are fighting, groups are fighting, political parties are fighting, countries are fighting because of these sensual objects, desirable objects. So people who are wise and good-hearted see these defects in sensual objects and sensual desire and make an attempt to renounce them. However, many people, unable to see the defects in them, cherish and get attached to them and make great effort in pursuit of them. Perhaps modern people are even worse. They cherish sensual pleasures so much and think of it so highly that they even consider it heaven, Loka Nīvaraṇā. So they seek for it all costs by doing anything good or bad. So the sense objects, being desirable and alluring, are called kama or kama guna. That means sensual bonds. Actually, the five sensual objects encompass a wide range of things and people. First of all, a visible object refers not only to the visible color or shape, but also to all things and people that it belongs to, such as men, women, the garments they wear, the devices and furnitures they use, and so on. In the same way, sound as a sense object includes not only voice, but also a person who speaks or sings and musical instruments and devices. In the same way, smell is comprised of not only fragrant odor, but also flowers, perfumes, and people who use them. Similarly, taste refers not only to flavor, but also to the solid food and juice that it belongs to and people who cook or prepare it. Touch also covers all the things and people he have physical contact with, such as men, women, clothes, beds, chairs, devices, and many more. In brief, all desirable objects are called kama or kamaguna. Thinking about such sense objects is called kamicchanda nīvaraṇā, sensual desire that hinders insight and enlightenment. Buddha compared the sensual desire and its human victim to the dead and the debtor, respectively. So Buddha instructed his disciple to get rid of the sensual desire repeatedly, just like the debtor who has to work hard to repay his debt in time. In this regard, as mentioned earlier, you remember sensual desire is like a debt. Take a prompt action to remove it. During the time of Buddha, a debtor had to be very respectful to his creditor. If the debtor failed to settle the debt in time, he had to apologize his creditor in a very humble manner. Even the creditor scolded him. The debtor never dared to say any words or do anything disagreeable to his creditor. So that is what happened in the olden days as well as during the Buddha's time. So we have no idea whether it is still the same in modern days when a lot of social reforms have been conducted. So a debtor always has to respect his creditor, even though he repays his debt in time, because he may need to get some more loans later. Only when a man repays all his debts and needs no more loans, he can be no longer required to respect his creditor. In this sense, desire for an object is compared to the debt because he have to respect the desirable object and take care of it. The more desirous he is of an object, the more respect he must pay to it, and the greater care he have to take of it. Suppose, for example, the man cherish a beautiful cup. He have to use it very carefully so that he won't break it. Even greater care needs to be taken of it. If it is a precious things like gold, silver, jewelries, and other ornaments that he really cherish, he have to keep them in a safe or ironclad boxes under lock and key. When he wear ornaments, for example, he is likely to have trouble looking for a secure place. So the more desirous he is of an object, the more respectful he must be to it, and the greater care he have to take of it. This is a problem related to desire for inanimate things. Such problem can be even worse when it comes to a living beings, such as girlfriends or boyfriends, spouse and child, and so on. Wife and husbands, for example, have to speak very carefully. They have to behave very respectfully so that one would not hurt the other's feeling. The more he loves his spouse, the more respectfully he have to treat her to lest he hurt his or her feeling. So he have to respect any objects he loves, animate or inanimate, in the same way as a debtor does his creditor. When he is not desirous of anything, when he is not desirous of any individual, he will become completely carefree, exactly like the person who is free from all debts. That is why during the retreat, if sensual desire, kamachanda, arises in yogi, yogi have to note it as desire, desire, desire immediately. We means during the retreat, because it may not be possible for you to note every desire that occur in your daily life when you are busy with daily chores, During the retreat, all you have to do is to be mindful of every phenomena manifested. So yogi can be mindful of desire, whenever it takes place, note it immediately. Desire, 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 so that you can overcome sensual desire. Before your concentration is strong enough, however, yogi may not be able to overcome sensual desire right away, but don't give up easily. Keep noting it as often as it occurs. If you cannot stop it by noting 1 or 2 times, then note it 3 or 4 times. If 3 or 4 times you cannot stop it, you can note 5 or 10 times. If you cannot stop it by noting 5 or 10 times, you can note 20 or 30 times. Keep noting. Note it as often as it repeats until it no longer recurs in the end. But you should not wish that sensual desire. Just simply note, just simply noting. Pay attention or simply notice. Very powerful. You can capture the true nature, just the mental state. You can capture it. So being mindful means waging a war on mental defilements. So don't give up, but keep fighting until you win. It is not just about a theory, but about the fact. All yogis also experienced. The desire abandoned by means of mindfulness may not recur even when you reflect the objects that arouse the desire. So mindfulness is the best way of overcoming the mental defilements. In this regard, a vast sensual desire is like a debt. Take a prompt action to remove it. If you cannot remove sensual desire, you cannot expect to earn the privilege of dwelling in the abode of the noble ones, Ariyavasa. If you are able to note and remove such mental hindrances, you will be guaranteed blissful rebirth after death. On the other hand, there is no such guarantee for those who die with mental defilements still lingering in them. Like residents of a tumble-down house exposed to all kinds of danger, an ordinary person, Putujana, is always at the risk of landing in the four woeful states. During the time of the Buddha, there was a monk called Tesa. One day that monk Tesa got an expensive robe. He loved that robe very much. Love for something means sensual desire, kamicchanda. So monk Tesa intended to wear that robe the next day. He hung it on the clothesline and went to bed. But on that very night, monk Tesa suddenly got sick and died. Yes, true, we don't know when we die. This night or this evening or today or suddenly we may die. We may die anytime. Now monk Tesa suddenly got sick and died. Given his moral purity, monk Tesa should have landed in the celestial realms. However, unfortunately, monk Tesa was reborn as a louse on that very rope, just because of his attachment to that very expensive robe he never received before. So some people may find it hard to believe that a monk reborn as a louse, a human being was reborn as a louse. But it is true. Now all yogis come to the center and practicing meditation continuously and diligently. According to the teaching, you have to observe every phenomena occurring at the six senses. You noting continuously rising, falling, sitting, touching, and walking meditation. You continue, and daily activities, eating, bathroom activities, everything you mindful. And any mental hindrances appear to you, sensual desire, ill will, liking and disliking, sometimes lazy to practice, sloth and torpor, sometimes restlessness and worry, odija gogoja, sometimes doubt in the practice, all kinds of mental hindrances you observe. You quickly note and you overcome. Then, eightfold path developing in yogi. You are practicing the Eightfold Path, you are practicing Vipassana meditation, you observe Sila, 8 precepts during the retreat. And by observing 8 precepts, right speech, right action, right livelihood are there. And then right effort. You try to be mindful of every object at the present moment. You make an effort to be mindful of the objects, and the effort you make is right effort. With right effort, you try to be mindful of the objects. That means your mind hitting the object. Your mind hitting the object is what is called samasati, right mindfulness. When that right mindfulness becomes stronger, you come down and your noting mind, as it were, goes into the objects and stay there. So going to the objects and staying there for a certain period of time is what is called sammasamadhi, right concentration. So that the concentration keeps your mind and is concomitant on the objects. Your concentration does not let them be scattered and does not let them go to other objects, other sensual objects. So that is the nature of concentration. So you are developing eightfold path in every noting. If you gain concentration, your mind becomes calm. The mental hindrances, sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry and doubt, all hindrances are subdued. When mental hindrances are subdued, your mind becomes still. You begin to see the objects clearly, more clearly than before. And you see the nature of Namarupa. You see that Namarupa arise depending on some condition. And you see these Namarupas come and go. So you see their impermanent nature. When you see the impermanent nature, you see their unsatisfactory nature. Unsatisfactory means being constantly tormented by arising and disappearing. When you see the impermanent nature and unsatisfactory nature of Namarupa, you also see the anatta nature. That means you have no control over Namarupa, psychophysical process. They arise and disappear as their own accord. And also you see that they are only the mind that is making note, and the object that is taken as an object. There's no other things which can be called as self or soul or atta. That means you see the another nature of things. So seeing the objects as clearly and so on are what is called right understanding in the practice of vipassana. And in order for your mind be on the object to understand the nature of the Namarupa, there is one mental state that takes your mind to the objects and put on the mind, that is right thinking or aiming. So that is right thought. So every noting, you are developing the Eightfold Path, and there is a right path. You need to walk more and more. You need to practice more and more. If you practice uh, meditation more and more, this path will lead you to the cessation of suffering. So we have to stop our discourse for today, and may you suppress and abandon 5 kinds of Nīvaraṇā, sensual desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry, and skeptical doubt in the practice. May you practice diligently Vipassana meditation. May you develop the Eightfold Path by practicing Vipassana meditation, by developing the Eightfold Path, by noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Ekayano ayam bhikkhave mega sadanam visodhiyam soga paridevanam samadegamaya dukkha domanassanam atthīṅgamaya nyāyasa adhigamaya nīvānasa sacikiriyaya yadidam Jadaram Sadivatanam Kadame Jadaram Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Kaye Kayanubasi Viharati Atapi Samvajanam Satima Vinayam Loke Abhijadomanasam Vedanasu Vedananubasi Viharati Atapi Sambhajanam Saddhima Vinayam Loke Avijadomanasam Jete Chetanubasi Viharati Atapi Sambhajanam Saddhima Vinayam Loke Avijja Domanasam Dhammesu Dhammanubhasi Viharati Adavi Sambhajanam Saddhima Vinayam Loke Abhijja Domanasam. English translation. This is the only way, bhikkhus, for the purifications of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for reaching the noble path, for the realizations of Nīvaraṇā, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. What are the four? Here in this teaching, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu does contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu does contemplating the feeling in the feeling, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu does contemplating the consciousness in the consciousness, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu does contemplating the Dhamma in the Dhamma, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipatiyam Bodham Bhujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipatiyam Dhamma Bhujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipatiyam Sangham Bhujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipatiyam Mata Pitaram Ujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Padipatiyam Acariye Pujemi Adaimaya Padivedaya Jaramaranama Parimojayasami Idame Bonyam dhamme silam Meghavalanyana Pajayodu Imano Punyavagam Savasadanam Dima Sarve Sadam Sukhida Hondu Sadhu
Sadhu,
Sadhu